There's panic in the streets. The price of Bitcoin has dropped and it hasn't gone back up yet. I'm not worried, and I'm going to tell you why. So, if we go over here to our pricing, and before we get started, if you find this information valuable, be sure to subscribe, share this video, and if you really want to, you can support me at cryptocurious.tv/support. I have all my wallet addresses up there so you can gift me with crypto if you'd like. So let's go back to what we were looking at. This is the daily chart, and this is our drop down from roughly 9,600, 9,700 down to around 8,500. Now we're currently at 8,175, which is several $1,000s below where it was a little over a week ago. This is panicking people. They expected that it would drop and then bounce right back up. Honestly, I'm glad to see that it hasn't bounced right back up. First off, we have this drop here which filled the CME gap that I've been talking about for weeks now. But let's take a look at this on the weekly cycle. And we're going to bring this down like that. So we dropped from up here down to right there. That was a drop of 45%. And 40% drops in crypto are not unusual in any way. But let's look at the other side. We go from our low, which was right down here at about 3,200, up to the high. And actually, let's go to where we are now. So we went up. Where we are now is 146, almost 147% above the low, above the bottom of the bear market. So even though we're $8,000 a Bitcoin, granted, only the extremely lucky people got in right at the bottom. But if you got in anywhere within this range, you're looking at a gain of 75 to 150%. That's not bad. It's not time to panic. This is normal. 40% pullbacks, and I'm going to show you that it's normal. People are panicking because Bitcoin dropped a couple of $1,000s, but I'm going to show you here. We'll look at this is the end of the last bear market. So this is January of 2015. And of course it has a lot more price action going forward that we can see, but as you look, you'll see that it formed a bit of a cup. But as it dropped, we get down here at the low, which was at $168, $169, and it jumped up here as high as the wick is at $306. So it jumped up not quite 3 times and then dropped back down. So let's see if we can make these a little bit bigger. So here's the low. If we take our tool and go from the bottom to the top, it went up right about 100% within, and this is a daily chart, so it went up 100% within a couple of weeks. And then it dropped back down 33% right there. So it jumped up 100%, dropped down a third. And it did that several more times. It went up and it dropped back down. And the one thing you'll notice about this is that the price action is nearly flat. Yeah, it had that first big bump up and dropped down, bumped up a second time, but then it went flat. We have a drop here from about $321 down to $202, which is another 37% drop. And it wasn't until really September, so 9 months into the bull market, where it started to actually go up quite a bit. We're only a few months into this bull market, this current one. From the low down here in December to the highs so far in June. So we're looking at, well, okay, so we're looking at about the same time frame. We're looking about 10 months, and this is what we've seen. We are not seeing the sideways action that we saw in the last bull run. As I said last week, I don't expect the price to recover to or above $20,000 until after the halving next May. That's another 8-9 months. So I won't be surprised to see this move sideways a lot between where we're at, and it may drop lower. We may see it drop down to $7,000, possibly down to $6,000 a coin. Even so, I'm not worried. It doesn't frighten me to see this price action drop this way and remain stable, I guess is the best way to look at it, because I know that eventually it's going to head further up eventually. And while it moves sideways, which is what it did in the last bull run, it went sideways for most of a year before it started to go up. I won't be surprised to see it go through a channel, I don't know, between say $6,000 and $13,000, $14,000 for the next 6 or 8 months. And then after the halving, after the Bitcoin reward gets halved once more in May, that's when I expect to see the price go up. It's not unusual. It's not concerning. And the other thing is, we're looking at, as a swing trader, and of course, as always, none of this is advice, but as a swing trader, I'm looking for the big moves. These relatively small moves, you may not think of, $4,000 is a small move. When we're looking at the grand scheme of things, we expect the price to peak above $100,000, somewhere above, possibly $200,000. No one can say, but let's assume $100,000. Okay, so if the price of Bitcoin jumps up to $100,000, that's a 10x move from here, a little over a 10x move. $2,000, $4,000, $5,000 drop is nothing, literally nothing. By the time it gets up to, and I'll show you here, if we bring this down so that we can see $100,000, so $100,000 is up here. If we bring that down so we can see the whole thing, you see how little that bump really is in the grand scheme of things. This is, by the time Bitcoin finishes this bull run, what we see today literally will be a blip on the screen. People will have forgotten about it. It's not a concern. When you're swing trading and you've got price targets in mind, you have to keep those targets in mind. Those targets are what allow you to trade without emotion. Remember, the market runs on emotion. People buy, the asset drops in price, and immediately they sell back out for a loss because, oh my God, the price dropped. I lost money. No. As long as you keep the asset, as long as you don't sell, the loss is on paper. It's meaningless. And because pretty much everybody you'll see on YouTube believes that Bitcoin in this bull run will get to $100,000. And remember, we're looking at cycles here. Every market has a cycle. The stock market has a cycle. Its cycle is around 10 years. Now that cycle can be broken, as we have seen. Currently, the U.S. stock market is on a 10-year bull run. It's the longest in history. It's broken out of that cycle, but that's due to the Federal Reserve and the government playing around with interest rates and repos and other things they have control over that don't make it a free market. It's controlled by the government. Bitcoin is the only free market on the planet. Cryptocurrencies in general are the only free market on the planet because the governments of the world have not yet, for the most part, decided to regulate them out of existence. So we're looking at a free market that is going to do what the market decides to do, what the investors decide it should do. And so it's been, so far, a 4-year market. We have 2 cycles of 4 years in the 10 years that Bitcoin has been around. They're very clear cycles, so we expect that this will also be a 4-year cycle. Started in December of 2018. All right, so 4 years is 2022. We have a long way, both in time and price, to go. We're at the very beginning, and as you see where my cursor is up here at the top, $100,000. When you move this around so that you can see where $100,000 is in relation to the price currently, you see this is nothing more than a small bump. It looks like what the last bull run did when you scroll back in time and you look at those lines. This is just a blip. Nothing more, nothing less. If you believe Bitcoin is going to go up to at least $100,000, and I see no reason why it wouldn't in this bull run, given that it's got another 3 years plus to get there, then sure. Absolutely. I see that it's a possibility. I believe that it can happen, and I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. I'm not panicked. You shouldn't be either. Remember, if you're panicking over a relatively small drop in price like this, you've probably got too much money in the market. You put too much in, and it is scaring you. If you put in, as I keep saying, if you put in only the money you would take to Vegas, put down on a craps table, or roulette table. And I'm using craps and roulette specifically because those are games of chance. You have no control over what the dice come up or what number comes up on the wheel. And when you're investing like this, this can feel very much just like you have no control. So I use those as examples. If you would put money, if you're investing just the money that you would put onto one of those games in the hopes that you win something, then you're fine. You're probably okay. This doesn't bother you. If this does bother you, you've got too much money at stake. This is a long-term gain. We're not looking for gains tomorrow or next week or next month. We're looking at the long-term gain of upwards of $100,000 or more to happen before this ride ends. If you firmly believe, like I do, that that's what's going to happen, this should not bother you in the slightest. This is a blip, nothing more. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. This has still been much longer than I wanted it to be. I wanted a nice short video. I wanted to just check in and let you know this is not a big deal. I will be back next week, and we'll see what changes between now and then.